This is a story about a family everyone wanted to be a part of, about polished holidays, perfect posts, a mother who looked devoted from every angle, and the kind of closeness people envy until they stand near enough to feel the heat. Need us. Let us take care of you. Let us feel fully central in your life. Brandon did none of that. And this next part is going to break your heart even more. Everybody thinks she is the child who won. She keeps going back to her mother for proof that she was never too much. No one sees what actually left Ruby's life that day. And that's really how all of this begins to unravel. This is a story about the golden curse and what happens when one child gets chosen, not for who she is, but for how perfectly she helps a parent stay standing. The golden child grows up believing that love means access. And if nobody interrupts that, she will pass this on. She gave and gave and gave. The thing I forgot to mention is that every family has a story it tells itself and a story it tells the world. This is a story about a family that everyone wanted to belong to. It's the kind of family who remembered your drink order, kept extra socks for the grandkids, and made the house feel so warm and familiar that people mistook this closeness for safety. It's also a story about what happens when the very thing that makes this family look so beautiful from the outside starts costing more than anyone wants to admit. On the evening of November 24th, there's a photo posted to Instagram with the following hashtags. #blessed, #family, #gratitude. The photo looked perfect, and that's the problem. Ruby, the matriarch, she's at the head of the table in a cream sweater with the wine glass half empty. Dale, her husband, he's standing on the edge of the frame with the carving knife still in hand. Tommy stands behind Katrina, their youngest daughter, with one palm resting on the back of her chair. Bobby and Cole, Katrina's boys, they're in matching plaid. One is grinning right at the camera and the other one is caught mid-reach for one of the dinner rolls. There's a baby blue runner centered. The ceramic turkey is exactly where it always is every year. And even the gravy boat with the tiny chip in it is right next to Ruby's left elbow. Everything about this picture says family, gratitude, warmth. Under any other circumstance, you would see this photo and say, oh my gosh, what a beautiful family. It's the kind of picture you save for inspiration, like, I want this someday. And from the outside, the Hellcats, they look like a family that knows how to do family right. But beneath all of that, something is happening that no one has named yet. One child's disappearing, one's fighting the same losing battle she's fought for 39 years, and one left long before he ever walked out that door. That's what makes this photo so unsettling. Once you know what you're looking at, it becomes something else entirely when you realize 2 of Ruby's children are missing because they were told Thanksgiving wasn't happening. But real quick, hi, I'm Jess. On this channel, my husband and I, we talk about messy family dynamics so that you feel less alone, less crazy. So if that's what you're looking for in your life right now, subscribe, hype this video, and let's get back to the Hellcats. Okay, let me tell you about the family everyone wanted to join. To understand why that photo landed like a punch, you have to meet the Hellcats. So settle in and let's begin. This family is super close. We're not talking about a family where the whole thing is rotten, obviously, from the beginning. No, it's not like that at all. This family is real. They love each other and they show up. The warmth you see, whether it's in person at Sunday's service or posted up on social media, is authentic. The kids love Grandma Ruby's house. They never, ever want to leave. And if you ask anyone in their orbit, which family seems the most loyal, grounded, and still tied to each other that feels kind of rare nowadays? They're probably going to say the Hellcats. Ruby Hellcat is 63 years old, and she is one of those people you trust immediately. She's got this fun, maternal energy, and she really looks at you when she's talking to you like she's got nowhere else to be. And this can be right after you meet her in a grocery line. And the way she pays attention to you, it just makes you feel so held. Like she knows Brandon, her oldest, when he walks into the house and heads to the fridge first thing, she knows that he's looking to to see if his dip is still there. Or how her middle child, Rachel, always reaches for the same mug without thinking, and somehow, magically, it's always back in the cupboard waiting for her to grab. Or how her baby girl, Katrina, drops her purse in the same chair, starts helping without even being asked, and then her and Ruby, they just start a conversation across the kitchen like they've been in the middle of this talk for 20 years. Ruby Hellcat, she loves you through small details that no one even thinks about. She knows which grandchild wants the blue cup. She also knows which one says they're too old to have their sandwich cut, but then they quietly eat more when she does. She just makes it all look so easy. And after a while, it just feels less like a home you're visiting and more like a place that was made for you. But the thing is, when someone loves you that attentively, it feels incredible, right up until the moment it doesn't. Because there's a version of being known that holds you. And then there's a version of being known that holds you in place. Most people in a family like this never slow down long enough to ask, which one of these am I living in? Dale Hellcat, her husband, he is a jokester with the right audience. He loves to grill in the summer. He's always got a cold beer in hand. And I know this is gonna sound super nauseating after hearing how incredible Ruby is, but Dale, he's just the perfect grandpa. Patience of a saint. He has taught every single one of his grandchildren, well, except Cole, because he's too young, how to tie their shoes. He'll sit right down in the dirt with them and just explain the ways of life. And here's another thing that probably won't surprise you. Dale is the guy that always has the right answer or always has the right tool. And if he doesn't, he knows a guy who knows a guy. The Hellcats have 3 grown children. Brandon, he's the oldest. He's married to Kenzie, and they have 3 kids, Jacob, Tyler, and Olivia. Brandon, he's good looking in that unbothered sort of way that some men are. He coaches basketball. He remembers school forms. He makes breakfast for his 3 kids while answering a phone call for work while finding someone's left shoe without losing his cool. People have always said that Brandon is super easygoing, and once you meet him, you're gonna agree. Basically think golden retriever. Rachel, she's the middle child, and she's married to Waylon, her high school sweetheart, and they have 2 little girls, Bria and Emmy. Rachel's the type of person who feels the room before the room isn't done happening. So she catches tone shifts, glances that last a half a second too long, and she knows what people mean the instant they say, I don't mean anything at all. And depending on who you ask, that either makes her deeply perspective or very exhausting. Katrina, she's the youngest. She's married to Tommy, and they have 2 boys, Bobby and Cole. And the best way to describe Katrina is, if Ruby is the center of this family, Katrina is the one standing closest to the warmth. She and Ruby, they speak in shorthand. They talk several times a day about everything and nothing at all. We're talking grocery lists, pickups, what are you doing right now, birthdays coming up, just anything. Their relationship is really sweet. Katrina is 10,000% Ruby's little mini me. In fact, Rachel and Brandon, they can't even tell the difference between their text messages half the time because they have the same exclamation points, the cute little phrases. They're just 2 cute peas in a pod. By Sunday, November 19th, Thanksgiving is pulling everyone forward. The air outside has that thing that makes you hunch your shoulders on the walk from your driveway to the house. The sky is pale, flat. The trees are almost bare. Someone has tracked in a few wet leaves by the back door. Ruby hasn't gotten to them yet because she's in the kitchen doing, well, everything already. You can smell the house before you even step in. Butter, onion, coffee that's probably been on the burner a little too long, and something warm and savory on the stove. You hear a pan clink in the sink, a drawer open and close, one of the boys thumping down the hallway, and Rachel's laugh coming from the kitchen. Ruby is standing at the center island with her infamous yellow legal pad and a pen in hand, reading part of the grocery list out loud to herself, all the while answering 3 questions at once. Her reading glasses are pushed up high on her head, the dishwasher is open, celery is spread across on a towel, there's a stick of butter near the stove softening, and 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup. No one officially has called a Thanksgiving meeting, but it's all the chatter in the house. Bria, Rachel's oldest, she wants to know if 8 is considered old enough to sit at the grown-ups table, or if she still has to sit at the cousins table. Her little sister Emmy wants to know if Grandma still has the glitter acorns from last year. And Katrina's youngest is ramming his monster truck underneath the table, and he actually still sounds a little stuffy from his cold last week. Ruby answers everyone without even looking up from her list. Bria, you're at the big table. Yes, I have the acorns, and can someone tell Grandpa Dale to bring up the extra card table? Dale, of course, he's already doing that. He's downstairs. You can hear him dragging the table across the cement, telling a joke to Tommy, his son-in-law. Rachel's near the island herself. She's half listening, but really she's just paying attention to her girls. Brandon, he's leaning on the counter, talking with his hands while Katrina slices apples for her oldest son. The whole thing just overlaps in that easy family way where 6 conversations are happening at once, and somehow no one's lost. Ruby just keeps writing turkey, potatoes, stuffing. Rachel asks whether they're doing canned cranberry sauce or the homemade kind. Brandon right away, he's like, obviously canned, but at the same time, Katrina says, homemade is better. Ruby doesn't even pause. She just writes down both, and Tommy says, well, we'll need a second fridge by Thursday. Everyone laughs, and Ruby never really stops moving through any of it. She checks the stove, wipes her hands, goes back to the list, answers more questions, opens the fridge, grabs a container, hands it to someone, reminds Rachel to take home her dish from last week. And then she asks Brandon if he's bringing the appetizer again that he did last year, but then she decides mid-sentence that she'll actually just make it herself to make it easier on him. Tommy, her son-in-law, asks what time people are coming. Ruby says 1, and then Rachel's like, wait, I thought it was noon because that works better for my kids. Katrina pipes up and says, noon? That's too early if everyone wants my kids to be dressed and halfway pleasant. Brandon says, all right, 1 is fine as long as no one acts surprised when his kids are starving by 12:30. Ruby again, she just keeps writing, and underneath her breath, she's like, well, they can just have vegetables and dip before dinner like every other year. And that settles it. 1 o'clock, Thanksgiving is underway. It's in the list on the counter, the argument over the cranberries, and the way the kids are already picturing where they're gonna sit. Standing with them in the kitchen and just seeing how this family moves together with the windows starting to fog a little from the heat and the smell of the soup simmering on the stove, you can see what I mean when I say the Hellcats, they have something truly special here. By the time everyone leaves that afternoon, everyone, I'm talking even the youngest Cole, has Thursday on their mind. But then Monday starts to bend the week in a different direction. It begins small enough that no one says the word problem. Katrina texts her mom Ruby before 7 saying Bobby feels a little warm, but he seems okay now. Ruby's like, okay, keep me posted. But by lunchtime, Cole is limp, feverish. He's got that glassy look in his eyes. By late afternoon, Bobby is sprawled out on the couch, has only just one sock on, pink cheeks, and watching Miss Rachel on low volume. Ruby's there. Of course she is. She walks in carrying soup, popsicle, and children's Tylenol, even though Katrina already has Tylenol. Ruby comes prepared. Her son-in-law, Tommy, takes the grocery sack from her. Katrina, she's wiping down the counter with one hand, holding a thermometer in the other. And Bobby starts crying because he wants the blue cup. So then Cole starts crying because Bobby's crying. It's just a mess, but Ruby, she just keeps moving and directing everybody like an aircraft marshaller with those glow stick wands. She starts the soup, finds the clean washcloths, tells Katrina, go sit down, sweetie, take a moment. Checks Bobby's temp. Oh, he's burning up. A little bit more Tylenol. She sends Tommy out to the garage to search for a humidifier cord, and she asks Katrina, hey, text Brandon and tell him next week might be better instead. Katrina, holding a cup, a thermometer, and her own phone all at the same time, she's like, wait, message Brandon about what? Thanksgiving. If the boys are still sick, just give them a heads up. We might need to push it out. Just then, Tommy comes in with a humidifier cord and pauses long enough to catch what's being said. He interrupts and asks if his wife is really going to be texting Brandon right now for her mom. Ruby looks up from the soup, scolds Tommy in a playful tone, and says, hey, I'm literally making magic over here for your boys. I'm busy. Katrina laughs. She's already typing out the message. Tommy just gives a little shrug and lets it go, which is what we would all do when something feels slightly off, but you can explain it away. Brandon gets the text while he's helping Tyler, his middle son, with homework at the kitchen table. Hey, just a heads up, the boys have fevers, so we might need to push Thanksgiving until next weekend. I'll keep you posted. Katrina's name is at the top of the message, but it's definitely a message from his mom, Ruby. Brandon sets his phone face down. Kenzie looks up from rinsing the dishes, asks if everything okay. He just gives her that small nod and says, yeah, the boys are sick. We might have to postpone Thanksgiving. Kenzie dries her hands on the towel and says, really? Geez, I hope not. Brandon just shrugs. Nothing really gets to him. He's like, it doesn't matter. It's going to all work out just fine. Across town, Rachel gets the text when she's standing in her pantry looking at a can of pumpkin, contemplating like, how serious are they about this expiration date? She picks up her phone. Hey, just a heads up. The boys are sick. Might have to push Thanksgiving. She reads it once, reads it again, and then she reads who it's sent by. Katrina, not her mom. She feels this very strange little lift in her chest. It always comes when something in her family is shifting and she can't tell, am I supposed to treat this like a big thing or a perfectly reasonable one? Waylon, her husband, walks into the kitchen while she's staring at her phone and asks her what happened. So she hands him the phone. He reads it. He's like, well, that's annoying. And she laughs. He quickly tries to fix it. You know what I'm saying? And she does. It's not the fact that the kids are sick. It's the fact that she already can feel like something's moving towards them. She just doesn't have a clear enough picture yet to name it. Tuesday turns into more fevers, and Wednesday, another message arrives. Sorry, guys. Looks like we're going to have to cancel for tomorrow. The boys are still running temps, and we don't want to get anyone else sick. We'll figure out something for next weekend. Text you later. Again, it comes from Katrina's phone, not Ruby. Rachel reads it as her youngest daughter, Emmy, is asking if Grandma's still making her sugar cookies for Friday. Rachel says she doesn't know, but she says it in that calm mom way when the answer is, well, just more complicated than what your child is asking. Brandon gets the same message while pouring great grains into a cereal bowl. Tyler, his middle, asks, okay, so we're not going to Grandma's tomorrow? Brandon just nods, yep, no Grandma's tomorrow. And then his little girl, Olivia, she looks up from her Lucky Charms and she's like, no, Bree and I had already planned on where we're going to put our fort. Brandon just said, sorry, sweetie, not this week. And that's what Thursday becomes. A day that did have shape, now suddenly it doesn't. Brandon ends up making special waffles in his kitchen. Rachel peels potatoes because she already bought them and there's no way she's going to let them go to waste just because plans changed. Ruby still bastes her turkey. Katrina wipes down feverish foreheads. Her dad Dale checks the smoker, tells him that the wind is picking up outside, and Tommy carries in a bag from the garage and says, one of the boys just asked for toast, which that's a good sign. There is still a half a dozen ways that this day could have bent back towards fairness. Ruby could have called and said, hey, the boys perked up. Why don't you guys stop over for pie? Or let's at least have the cousins over tomorrow so they can see each other as long as everyone is fever-free for my sugar cookies with extra sprinkles. Or here's a thought. Since it's obvious that Katrina's family has already visited all morning, Ruby could have said, well, guys, why don't you head home? It's been real, but I do have 2 other children and their families who would also like to see me on Thanksgiving, so bye-bye. No, none of those things happened. Even when the boys did perk up and one asked for toast and the other one wanted to wear his little plaid shirt because he liked the buttons, the table was already mostly set. The turkey was on the smoker, the rolls were rising. Katrina and Tommy, like I said, they were already there, well, because it's just easier to have Ruby around when the boys are sick. So just like that, a holiday slid from being canceled to being back on without anyone in the kitchen stopping long enough to ask, what are we actually doing here? By late afternoon, Ruby's house was glowing. The baby blue runner was out, the ceramic turkey was centered, the gravy boat with the tiny chip in it was full. The lights are low, the smell of sage, butter, and onions, they drift all the way to the front hall. Bobby's under the table this time with his truck, Cole's in Tommy's lap, Dale is carving the turkey, Ruby's cheeks are flushed in that pretty holiday way of being in the kitchen and around all that heat. Katrina, she's tired but really relieved, and Tommy, he's just doing what he always does, which is he doesn't really say much unless something becomes bigger than he could ignore. If you walked into this home right now, you would want to stay. You would feel the warmth, you would hear the laughter, you would see the boys in their plaid, the food laid out just perfect, and you would think, this is what family is supposed to feel like. Someone takes a picture and the caption goes up that night. Celebrating a little bit different this year, grateful for this family, #blessed, #family, #grateful. And the thing is, nothing explodes, not right away. Thursday passes, Friday passes, the world just keeps moving, but then Saturday arrives and that's when it all comes crashing down. Brandon, he's unloading the truck when Jacob says, hey, is everything okay with Aunt Katrina? Brandon, he just keeps moving, asks why, and Jacob, he's half paying attention but really looking at his phone, and he's like, Well, she just posted a bunch of stuff about Thanksgiving. And that's how Brandon found out. Not from his mom, no, from his oldest son. In a driveway while carrying boxes inside. Jacob turns his phone around, hands it to his dad, and there it is. The baby blue runner, the ceramic turkey, the chipped gravy boat, and his mom in the chair she always sits in, smiling, with Tommy, Katrina, and their boys in matching plaid. Brandon reads the caption and his whole body stiffens before his face does. Jacob says innocently, just narrating what he sees, looks like the boys felt better. Brandon, he just hands his phone back and he was like, yeah, that's it. No, what the heck? He just picks up the box he was carrying, walks into the house while something old and ugly just settles one click deeper into his body. Kenzie, his wife, finds him 10 minutes later sitting at the kitchen table. Everything is put away where it belongs, of course it is, and he's just sitting very quiet and very still. Rachel, his sister, had texted Kenzie a screenshot with no words, just a picture of this, and said, did Brandon see this yet? So Kenzie, she sets her phone face down on the table, sits across from Brandon. He doesn't look up at first, and when he finally does, he just says, well, I guess the boys felt better. Kenzie takes a deep breath, and then she tells him the picture was bad enough, but the part that she doesn't understand is why nobody didn't call him or no one called his sister Rachel. Something tightens around Brandon's mouth, and when he answers, she almost misses it because his voice is so quiet, and he just says, well, I guess my mom didn't think to call. Rachel, she saw the post the same day. In fact, a friend actually sent it to her saying, wait, aren't you guys celebrating Thanksgiving next weekend? Rachel was standing in her pantry again, grabbing a fresh paper towel roll when the image loads. And the second she sees it, she can already hear her family's explanations lining up. The boys turned the corner. It was just last minute. No one meant anything by it. And then she thinks, great, am I about to be the difficult one again who notices something that everyone else wants to just keep quiet about? It's truly the most exhausting part about being a Hellcat. The injury arrives, and almost at the exact same time, so does the defense team in your head. Waylon, her hubby, is upstairs resting in bed. She walks in, holding her phone like it burns, and she tells him they had Thanksgiving anyway. He sits up immediately. Rachel just starts to say, I know how this sounds, but her husband cuts her off before she can finish, and he's like, no, Rachel, you know how they'll make it sound. That's different. She just lays down beside him, settles into the crook of his neck, and just closes her eyes. Like, this is one of the reasons why she married Waylon. Like, every once in a while, he will hand her back reality before she has a chance to sand it all down and make it pretty so it's comfortable enough for everyone else in the room. By 7 p.m. that night, the whole thing is just sitting there in plain view. A beautiful moment, a perfectly set table with a family that everybody envies, and 2 children and their spouses and 5 grandchildren left on the outside of that frame. That's the crack. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's the first clue, and it usually doesn't arrive looking like danger. It arrives looking like a beautiful photo you almost wished you belonged to. The next part is where we're actually going to step inside of that photo, and we're going to start asking, what does it cost everybody in here to make it look that beautiful?